How do you get those navigation bars across the top of a window? So here's an example of how you can do that. I've got a menu.html and a menu.css. They're both empty now. I'll start with a blank CSS. I'll call it menu bar. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a div at the top. I'm going to say that the style of the div has a background color of, I went and picked these all out already. They're from the color.adobe.com. I'll say padding is 5 pixels. Margin, I'll give it -5 to keep things close. Then I'm going to have an unordered list, and in the unordered list I'll have 3 list items. One will be for a home button. One will be for an about button. And one will be for a, let's say, an archive button. But I want all of these to be members of a class. I'll call it nav. Copy that. I missed the quotation marks there. And I also want them to have IDs. So say this one's ID is home. This one's ID will be about. And this one's ID will be archive. So there I've got a div with an unordered list in it, and then at the very end I'll just have the heading for the page, H1. Welcome to a navbar. Let's see what this looks like right now. It's got an unordered list with a background as defined in the div element, but they're just bullets, and then I've got a welcome to navbar H1 that follows. So now I need to style this in the menu.css. Let's start with just a general sans serif. Then I've got the class that I have to deal with, nav. So I got a lot of stuff to do here. I want to say the list style. The list style can be one of many things, including none. So don't make it an actual list. For display, remember that display can be inline or block, but we're going to say this is an inline block that will prevent the list items from appearing one on top of each other. I'm going to give the width of 30% so that the 3 of them together will not quite add up to the total width of the window. We'll give it a height of, let's say, 40 pixels. I'm going to position this relative, which says, give this a position that's relative to everything else on the page. Let's blow up the font size a little bit. Let's give it 1.8 EM. And I'll give it a text align of center. And a padding of, let's call it 10 pixels. So in these list items, we're going to have the items not stacked on top of each other. They'll have a little bit of padding around them. And now all I have to do is just finish out the style sheets for the IDs. So I've got a home, and I'm going to give that a background color of, again, I got this from Adobe. And an about ID with a background color of pasting this in from Adobe, and then I've got an archive ID with a background color of so I'll save that, and I'll go back to the menu.html and save that, and then take a look. It still looks pretty good, except I haven't included the link to the CSS file. So I'll go back here, and I'll say style, no, sorry, link rel is equal to a style sheet with the href equal to menu.css. Now let's take a look. So that looks good. I've got 3 items across the top. These were in an unordered list. These are all list items, LIs. And then they're followed by the H1 for the page. So if I were to go in and add some JavaScript, I could click on Home and go somewhere, or click on About or Archive and go to a particular place in the website. But this is how you get from a nice list of list items to a navigation bar.